Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Cool Beans Pod. We are chatting with Carlos and Helena Branco today over here in Villanova, the Gaia. They have graciously allowed me to come over to their beautiful house that they have been working on themselves for the last 3 years. Is that it? 3 years, yeah?
Yeah, well, it was 1.5, and then now we're working on the houses upstairs. So we have a big project, large project of 7 houses, and 5 of them are almost ready, and we did it like in 2.5 years. So
Great.
we are
So-
proud of this.
Thank you very much. Could you just introduce yourself, Helena, and talk a bit about how you ended up in Portugal, and then we'll jump over to your husband, Carlos.
Yeah. So first of all, I wanted to say that we are very excited to be on this podcast. Thank you for invitation and sitting with us and talking about us and our project. This is our life. We are very passionate about this. So it's a great opportunity to talk to the world about that. I'm Helena Branco. I am born Ukrainian. So I was born in Ukraine, spent my first 20 years there, and then moved to Germany. In 2010, uh, initially it was for studies. So basically, I did my master's degree there, a master's in international relations with the key studies in finance. And, it was going a bit back and forth after studies, but I decided that since I did my master's degree there, I should do something about that. And I was searching for a job in Munich, in Bayern, Bavaria, in Germany. So this is where I was also studying around that area. And in 2010, I found my job in finance in a small but international telecom company. Started working there, and this is where I met my husband.
That's
Carlos. And that's Carlos.
Smile there.
Yeah.
You're Portuguese, right, Carlos?
Yes, I'm Portuguese.
You're from Gaia.
I'm from Gaia. So I was born in Porto, but lived in Gaia since I know myself. Yeah, since I think my parents moved here when I was 4, just around the corner actually from where we live now.
Okay.
And I passed my childhood here, so close to the ocean. So for me, it was this connection to the ocean.
Board hanging there. Right?
Yes. I don't practice so much. Now is mainly for decoration purposes almost. But yeah.
Can you tell me a bit about your journey meeting Helena in Munich? Maybe you were saying Munich in this.
You're right. It was in Munich.
Yes.
Company. Yeah.
So because I was born in Porto, grew up in here, but then at a certain point I went to study to Coimbra. It's a bit further south.
University that
Yes.
just
It was quite amazing journey there. And then so I studied IT, and then IT at that time when you wanted a job that could give you some possibilities, Porto was still the underdog. There was nothing here. So I moved to Lisbon and I went to work to a big company. I went to work for Siemens. And from the first week I joined Siemens, they had an international hub that the headquarters was in Munich. So I joined. I didn't even receive my laptop from the company, and I was already sent to Munich. And then I started there. I was basically an expat for 6 months there, and then returning back to Lisbon. But I love Munich, and the life in Lisbon was very chaotic. There was a lot of traffic, a lot of it was just too much.
especially for someone coming from Porto.
Yeah, exactly.
A bit overwhelming.
Yeah, the traffic was crazy. I was spending like 1 hour, 1 hour and a half each way to get to work. So I was feeling I was dying inside. So I said, no, this is not a life. I cannot do this. So then I thought, okay, this 6 months period ended at Siemens. So I was sent back to Lisbon, and I said, no, if there's no chance at Siemens, maybe I can find something else. And I started looking for a job in Munich, and I found something in this telecom company.
Okay. And that's how you met.
And yes, I was there. I moved out in 2006. Then joined in 2010 the company, and that's how we met.
Okay. Great. And how was it bringing Helena to Portugal? Blue eyes and blonde hair to Portugal.
Yes, it was.
You bring those.
Yeah,
This is Iberian Peninsula.
Yes, it was. It's a completely different look. Yes, something that also attracted me on her a lot, of course. And yes,
He was never talking about this before.
No. So that's the whole thing with the Cool Beans is we try to pull out all the truth.
exactly. To take everything.
So tell me a bit about telecommunications and IT work. What specifically were you doing?
So I studied. So I studied, going back a bit. I studied IT. So while I was studying already in the university, I was already doing some work, some basically programming work. So very technical, very deep technical work, programming, database optimization, this type of things. And then when I finished my degree, there was like a crossroads, yeah, and to go to Siemens, where I was doing more like project management, sales, just something for me, something new at that time, or keep doing development. In Aveiro, there was a big development center in Aveiro, and then I decided, okay, let's try something new. And I passed from a pure technical job to something more managing people, yeah, and that was the I think the first big change. So from a pure technical thing, as basically after the university, I never did any more technical job after that. So at Siemens, I started doing project management sales. Basically, you were doing the pre-sales for mobile operators offers. So you're selling core networks for mobile operators all over Europe. At Siemens, it was a big company, so I was assigned a specific technical branch, a specific components, and I was doing all the offerings. So basically, we got a RFQ, so a request for quotation from, I don't know, France Telecom, British Telecom, whatever. And we had to gather a team internally in Siemens and answer all the technical questions, understand what they wanted exactly, come up with a solution, dimension the solution, come up with a pricing, because then you have these huge groups like Vodafone, you have to make a specific price for this or that branch. And then in the end, make an offer, a sales pitch, and try to sell that package to that operator.
I didn't understand any of that. But no, I'm sure in IT speak. Yes. Makes sense. Thank you, Carlos. And Helena, so you guys have met? You're doing finance in this, what telecommunication company was
Well,
this?
that's European
Computer
computer telecoms.
Okay, so
Exactly.
you guys met and spent some time in Germany, right? Is how
Yeah,
long
well,
have you
we've
been?
spent like almost 10 years in Germany.
10 years in Germany.
Yeah, so basically, we met, but it was a slow start, being colleagues and so on. Like there were like a lot of not concerns, but like still, like you were trying to figure out if it's okay, and to be also involved, being colleagues at the same time.
And
So
to HR.
uh, well, HR was not very strict at that back in the days or back in that company, so it was okay. And like we were strictly professional at work, of course, and so on. But yeah, eventually in 2014 we got married and we started family. So our daughter was born in November 2015. And I would say, like this pregnancy and the fact that our daughter was born, it changed us completely. Why? Because we were all in very like high-paced jobs, so irregular working hours, and it would continue like this. So even though like in Germany actually it's very strictly regulated, but being in like this IT or sales environment or in finance environment, you're always on the clock. You're like always working.
Was available.
You're always available. Our headquarters, like we had like also offices across Europe, but also in US, for instance, like with time difference and so on, you have to be always available. And basically, we just realized very fast that we have no time for to spend as a family, for instance, except of the weekends, because basically when our daughter went to daycare, it would be like him waking up at whatever 5 in the morning and going to work early to be able to pick her up at 4 p.m. And for me, it would be the opposite story. I would bring her to daycare and work really late. And then in the end of the day, we would just have like 1 hour, for instance, together,
It feels
like-
completely abnormal, doesn't it? Once you
Exactly.
have children. It's like, why
Yeah.
you have a child if you're dropping him or her off at daycare at 8 or 9,
Exactly.
him up at 5.
Yeah.
I experienced something very similar, and it is a mind shift, right? Isn't it? Because you get to a point of, well, why do I have a child then? How present am I in this child's life? Tell me just on that then, because this is a nice little connection. I've spoken to a lot of Germans and Portuguese people who've worked in Germany, and they love talking about the difference between work culture in the southern sections of Europe and the northern parts of Europe. So can you tell me a little bit about, I mean, it must have been strange for you going, maybe not so much for you because you studied there, right? But Carlos, for you, it would have been rather strange going from Portugal to a work environment in Germany. Was that strange? And
Yes, it was a big change actually. So even though I started working on a German company, so Siemens, it was a German company. It was very the Portuguese culture was very installed here in
there
Siemens.
were no 2 hour lunches.
Almost. So we had at Siemens in Lisbon. We had like we would start early because actually you would go early to the office to try to avoid the traffic. That is the first thing. So you were in the office at around eight something, and then you go for a coffee break. So I think this social part in Portugal is also good. But
great.
it's great. But then you end up spending so much time in the office.
Yeah.
You lunch. Yes, sometimes 1 hour's minimum, and they could stay more. And the canteen in Siemens Lisbon is great. I assume it's still the same. So you go for a nice lunch, and then if the weather is good, you walk a bit in the garden.
Course.
They had a great swimming pool that gives a nice overview of Tejo. And so you end up spending 2 hours. So basically, I would stay in the office from 8 in the morning until 7, 8 at night. So it's
It's not healthy.
yeah, and the productivity is not high because you get distracted easily. So you end up spending so much time there, but the outcome in terms of work, of course, is good. But okay,
Significantly less because
per hour,
you're
yes.
distracted. And
yeah, so many things, and
you don't need to eat for 2 hours. Do you?
no, of course not, of course not. Then okay, at that time for me was great because okay, I was single, living alone in Lisbon, a complete new city for me, so it was great. I met new friends there. It was great to spend time. Okay, it was a mix between private and professional life. Yeah, it was all together. But at a certain point, this wouldn't work. Yeah, and in Germany, it's completely the opposite. Yeah, you go to work, you go to your office to work. You are very efficient on what you do. You do it fast, and if you stay over time, means you're doing something wrong. Yeah.
Yes,
If you
there's a
cannot do
problem.
your job within this time, then you're doing something wrong. So you should focus on.
The HR managers over in the northern parts of Europe will actually go and talk about that. It's, they'll monitor who's staying later and try and find out why is this individual staying till 6, 7, 8 at night. Either they don't have the skill set to do the job, or they've been given extra work which they shouldn't, which is great. So was that a mind shift for you, and how did that influence your work ethic now as you've got older?
Yes, it was a big mind shift. Yeah, the moving to Germany, trying to understand that. Okay, first of all, this productivity question, and now I understand very well why there is a big productivity gap that some people don't understand very well. Why the salaries don't grow so much in Portugal that they grow on the northern countries. And also try to focus on the important things. Yeah, you do your job properly, everything is done properly, and you try to find this, and then you have time for everything. Yeah, you have time for your family and time to do your job.
Yes.
For example, like in Germany, so it's very strict with the deliverables and everything. But you say, okay, I have to pick up my daughter at 3 in the afternoon, and that's it. And there's no question like, but we have this. No, that's it. We shift the meeting. Doesn't matter if it's a meeting with a colleague or with the CEO. Doesn't matter. It's if you have to leave at that time because of family, then it's understood and it's very well accepted. So
Great. And Helena, for you as a Ukrainian, how did the work culture influence you? Was it a shock or?
I would say it was not because I was working always in international companies, and even like being in Germany, working in international environment. For instance, I worked first. So I didn't mention this before, but I started my professional career. It was in Siemens. Then I went to Nokia Siemens Networks. Well, didn't go because it was a merger and acquisition. Then I was working in European computer telecoms, and then finally I moved to Dell Technologies. And for instance, and I spent there like my 9 years before changing my career path. And Dell Technologies is American company, so you have
Dell, right?
yeah, exactly. It's Michael Dell, and you have American working ethics there, working culture there. So that's why. I mean, like when I was listening to Carlos, I was thinking like, yeah, we might pass a controversial message because first we say like we were like, with irregular working hours and so on. That was a decision why we wanted to change something in our lives. But it's true because working for American company, you have slightly different environment there. And of course, it's always also always based on this deliverables. Sorry, but you really work hard and you try to perform, of course, because you try to move on this career ladder, and you're ambitious, and of course, like you really want to do your job properly and so on. That's why for me, I didn't feel, like strictly this German work ethics or working environment there, because it was always international environment, and it didn't touch me so much, and I didn't feel this shift so much because as I started in Ukraine already in international company and I just continued, that was more or less always the same. So I was just used to this environment, and for me that was just normal, of course, until we started the family, and then things changed.
I think the current generation, so the Gen Zs and sort of the younger millennials, I don't think a lot of young children realize that there is a period in your life post-university and sort of in the mid-30s where you really do need to put your head down, disappear for a while, right? Because that's when your brain is so malleable, you're so young, you're so eager, you're so ambitious and very impressionable. And I think it's at that time where you really do need to work hard and put your head down and learn as much as you can, so that then when you do start a family, you can take your foot off the gas a little bit and, just chill out a little bit, or maybe you get to a point where you have a little bit of disposable income, try a few different things. And I sometimes wonder, and this is not a criticism of this generation, but I sometimes, when there's this overemphasis of work-life balance, which is important, I fully agree with that. I think work-life balance is important, but I think when you're young, there's an element of that which is not really going to be important for you. And I think when you're young, you need to forget about that for a little bit, because you have to go through that painful experience of working hard and waking up early and going to bed late and working long hours, because then as you get older, you start appreciating it a bit more. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? Do you think that this generation is a bit too focused on...
Yes, I think so. I think so. In order for you to get work-life balance, first, as you were saying, you have to live intense both days. Yeah. So when you are young, you have no worries. When you start your career, you should focus and really, because that's the time to work hard. You're not gonna take this work 10 hours a day.
do the work.
You gotta do the work. Yeah, you're not gonna take this approach when you have a family, and so I think there's a time for everything. And to be honest, okay, now I think we have a great balance. But there was a time that I was also working 10, 12 hours a day, flying every second day somewhere, business meetings and so on, and you're running. And I don't regret that, yeah, because I learned a lot with that, and that also helps me appreciate what you have now.
Exactly.
You cannot just have work-life balance from the start, having this concept,
exactly.
and you don't know what is work actually, what is actual work. So
Because you have 23-year-olds now.
yeah. They think they figured it out already.
Start about going, I want work-life balance, but they've never had a job.
Yeah,
You need the work part to have the balance, right?
exactly.
So yeah, just a bit of a jive there, Gen Zs. But so you've got married now. You've got a young daughter, a lovely young daughter, speaks multiple languages, which is great.
Yeah.
Said, how many languages does she speak?
Well, so I think 4, and there will be more. She speaks as native. She speaks German. She speaks Portuguese. She speaks a little bit of Russian, because my family is also very international, intercultural, and it's a like Russian-speaking family in the first place. And I wanted her, when I decided which language would I like to speak with her, I decided to choose Russian, because my main reason was her ability to communicate to my family.
And heritage.
And of course, yeah, right. Even though like I'm fully Ukrainian, right? But my mom has, so she's half Bulgarian, half Russian. My father is like half Ukrainian. There are Polish roots and everything, so this is a huge mix. And when my parents met, my mom, for instance, she wouldn't be able to speak Ukrainian. And so our family from the beginning was a Russian-speaking family. But of course now with, with the current political situation, with full-scale war, well, I speak Ukrainian most of the time with my Ukrainian community. My daughter, as she is exposed already to so many languages, she also speaks English, because me and my husband, we communicate.
Portuguese to Carlos.
She speaks Portuguese to Carlos. She speaks German because she grew up there. She actually, funny enough, she identifies herself as German.
Okay.
So she's really like has this roots. She like this really unbreakable link to Germany, like to the ground, to the land, right? And she identifies herself as German, and she goes here to German school, to German, yeah, so Collegio Alemão, yes, in Boavista. Exactly. That's why her German is really on the level of a native speaker, even though both of us are not native speakers. I speak fluent German, but it's still with accent. It's like my English as well. It has accent, so there is nothing we can do about this at this time, probably.
And she starts speaking later than usual because of
No, actually, not really. Well, maybe. So she was not an early speaker, that's for sure. But I think she started probably at around age of 2, I think, like so actively already. And before there were, of course, like some words and so on.
Well, girls start earlier because they're
Yeah.
supposed to say anyway earlier.
Exactly. Yeah. And so Ukrainian, she's exposed, of course. She's exposed to Ukrainian language as well, but I see that she already struggles a bit because it's just too much, And even like now she's in 4th grade, and we see that, for instance, even like Portuguese for her is slightly more difficult in terms of like orthography and like, like all the writing.
The mix of verb tenses.
Yeah,
for your
exactly.
mind.
So this is like when you're exposed to so many languages, of course, it's a gift. It's like your really a huge advantage for the future, because she's covering like probably already half of the world in terms of languages. So she would not have any trouble traveling. And by the way, we travel a lot with her. So she traveled already to more than 30 countries. So we traveled to more than 65, I believe. So we are really exposing her to different cultures all the time. And I feel this is like a huge advantage, because most of the problems that we have now are based on this, like, polarities. You like any type of polarities. Yeah, it can be whatever, based on country you're living at, based on race, based on whatever, gender, anything, because our world is like extremely polarized right now, and there is a reason behind that, of course. But like by exposing her to so many different cultures and languages, and not asking or pushing her to choose something, so like that you have to identify yourself like that. And as we said, like, funny enough, she didn't identify herself with Ukraine or with Portugal, so she identified herself as a German, and this is also fine for us.
She's obviously identifying herself with a stronger economy, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. She just knows something,
It is the right decision.
Tell me, and where, in terms of your travel, how do you facilitate the travel with a child? Because I actually had some really interesting, I had an interesting couple on about traveling with children.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your travels. You said what, 60 odd countries, 39 countries were there?
So we traveled, we as a couple, we traveled to roughly 65.
65 countries, right?
Yeah. Well, there are different lists. Like, is it like UN recognized countries or some territories,
It's like
whatever.
195,
Yeah.
90 odd countries,
Exactly.
right? And
Yeah.
it depends on whether it's a protectorate or a
Exactly.
region.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's say roughly 65. And with her, we traveled to more than 30, I believe 32 or something. And it all started when she was 1 year old. We were like, some people were saying that we're crazy parents, but our first trip with her was to Patagonia.
Oh, wow.
She was really 1 year old. It was a new year. And we went there and we rented a camper van.
Would have been summer though, right? Southern Hemisphere, so it would have been summer, yeah.
It would be summer, but Patagonia is an amazing. It's like really beautiful region. I love it. It's probably on like top 5 of my destinations that we visited ever. But in there, summer is still cold. You can have a wind of more than 100 kilometers per hour. Like there are glaciers. There are like amazing mountains and so on. So basically, is a rough region, to go with a 1 year old baby. Plus, on top of that, we rented a camper van. So we flew first to Santiago de Chile. From there, we flew to Punta Arenas in Patagonia. And we rented a camper van, and we were going from Patagonia back to Santiago for 5 weeks with the camper van, having a baby, 1-year-old baby on board. And we would not only stay in Patagonia and go hiking with her, like, Carlos would have this huge backpack where she would be able to sit. Well, luckily she was sleeping a lot, also on the way. So it was really easy ride for us. But he would carry her. I would carry 10 plus kilos of my photography equipment, because back in the days I was never a professional photographer, but I was like a avid hobby photographer. So I would carry my equipment also for him not to feel bad, or for me not to feel bad that he carries her. And then we traveled so with camper van across like, for instance, there is a very rural area there. It's called Carretera Austral, as it was already 10 years ago. Back in the days, they were just starting with, infrastructure, like putting the roads and so on. But there it was nothing, like it was just gravel road, like very, very authentic, very pure. But of course, nothing around as well, like just a few villages, but no infrastructure, no hospitals, no nothing. And people were saying like, we are really crazy with, like if something would happen, like what would we do and so on. But, I always feel this is all about your attitude and projection. So basically, we were super relaxed, and we kind of had this feeling that everything will be fine. We were really enjoying the trip. Everything was great. We even didn't have a flat tire on the way in 5 weeks. So with the camper van, and we visited like places that are like, we have pictures in our family archives, or her being on a glacier, or visiting like Torres del Paine, or in with a active volcano in the backdrop, or something like this. Of course, she doesn't remember, but it's a great story, and we always, like, when we look at the pictures, there are a lot of stories.
Would you say that's the best place you've traveled to?
I Well, they are all different, but I'm in love with Patagonia for sure. I really like, for me personally, speaking, I'm a big lover of high mountains. So I really like hiking, and everything that is above 400 meters high. For me, is like I feel like at home.
1,000, right? For 400.
4,000, sorry.
1,000, yeah.
4,000, yeah. So I feel very safe, and I feel like at home. Like sometimes you get this feeling that is like, okay, so here I'm really at home. I don't know. Well, we can speculate how is it connected, or what is the reason for that. We can also go that way and talk about this a bit. But for me, like high mountains, this is really like I love it. And for instance, when we got married, our honeymoon, even though it's controversial, he says our honeymoon was here in Portugal, and we went also like to the south. I say our honeymoon was going to Kilimanjaro, and we hiked Kilimanjaro,
Okay.
and we went to the top together.
Did you do the Coca-Cola route or the more stringent route, the more strict,
No, we did the easy one.
the easier one?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of companies now.
Yeah, now back in the days, it was just the beginning of this
Yeah.
mass tourism to Kilimanjaro.
Beautiful, is it?
It's amazing, and the glacier was also much larger than it is now, for instance. And of course, Kilimanjaro is amazing in a way that you cross all the climatic zones. Basically, you start at subtropics, and then you go until the glacier. And when we were doing the final ascent at night, because you always start like I don't know, whatever, 12 or something, or 10 p.m. or something, and you hike at night, because the idea is that you meet the sunrise on top of Kilimanjaro. Yeah. And it was snowing like really like crazy, so no visibility. We would just follow the guide, just not to fall somewhere.
A lot of people don't realize that it actually does snow in Africa.
Yes.
A lot of people don't realize that, and that there actually are skiing resorts in some regions.
But even here in Morocco, that is very near, and you have
Yes.
Eiras and Atlas, Eiras Mountain. Yes.
Yeah.
So Patagonia the best, the worst. What's the worst place you've traveled to?
The worst. Oh my God. Carlos, you will say something.
No, for me, okay, one of the worst, not in terms of I don't want to classify the place.
Doesn't necessarily mean the place was the worst.
Exactly. It was my experience
Just
was
the
the worst.
feeling.
And we went to India. We went to Varanasi.
Yeah.
And for me, it was very shocking. Yeah,
For
the
me, it
way,
was the best.
for me, the way people live there, and uh, the value of human life.
Yes.
It was just so chaotic. I think we traveled all over India, but when we landed there, for me it was just too much. I think it was also already the a big kick. For me, it's one of the worst experiences, let's say, that I had.
I thought you would say Rome, and you said
Rome was also a bad experience because actually we were robbed there, and they took all our stuff. And at that time, also with a camper van, and we took a second car that we left somewhere on the way. And when they stole the camper van, they took the keys from the car. So it was a logistical nightmare to get the car back, to talk to the police. Nobody cared. Okay, you were stolen. All document doesn't matter. No, it's like this Italian way. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. You are here. Okay, you have no documents. You have nothing, but it's okay.
could be also Portuguese.
Could also be Portuguese way, yes. So it was the full experience was also not so pleasant. Yeah.
And what specifically about India? You said the lack of value for human life. What
No,
specifically was it?
I think it's like because in India we had the full blown experience. We saw the poorest areas I've seen. Yeah, you see those kids going on the streets. They have nothing to eat. They eat some crap they find on the floor. They're always asking you for something because they basically have nothing. Yeah, and you see that people live. I think they're not only poor, but they live on a level that is not understandable unless you really see it. It's really like miserable, and they have nothing. But on the other side, you also have like luxury that I've never seen anywhere else. Yes, and this availability of this Maharaja kind of experience. So for me, it was a huge roller coaster. Yeah, from the
That inequality is striking. Yes, in this aspect.
I have completely different.
it was the
So
same
India
trip.
is the best for you, and the worst for you within me.
Well, India, I really love India, so I can comment a bit on what Carlos said because this is really interesting. So how does it work? Because of course it's a very big contrast, right? Because we did visit like slums in Bombay, and we did have an experience where a friend of us, her uncle, he has like a big business there and so on, and he invited us to his house, and like everything was there for us, like whatever you need. Like everybody is there just to make it happen for you, and of course it's a huge contrast. And to be fair, when we came back home, for me it was also even difficult, and I'm not joking, that was really a truly authentic feeling that I would think twice of buying something for me, because I would think about kids in India or people in India, like not having something. Of course, eventually, you get back to your normal life, but the contrast is really high. But when you see this from a completely different perspective, I feel that people in India, no matter what circumstances are, they can enjoy life. And this is something that we have to learn. And for me, this is, to be fair, because now I'm on my spiritual way already for a decade or even more probably. And for me, this is probably nowadays the biggest mastery of this life, is to be able to enjoy life no matter what circumstances are, because we are living in the world that is highly, I don't want to say unsafe, but it's unpredictable.
And volatile.
Yeah. And it will increase within the next years, probably until 2030. Like we will still experience a lot of things that are probably even at the level of intensity, they might be even higher as compared to what we experience now. And if we master this, like in the middle of all the chaos, of all the uncertainty, just to be able to relax your body and to enjoy, yeah, to find how you can enjoy things, right? This is for me the highest mastery, really. And Indians, they just master this, and when you are able to see this, you change completely the perspective. It really shifts. That's why for me, everybody needs to go to India just to be able to observe exactly this mastery.
Okay, yeah, just put things into perspective.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I think it's about time we chatted a little bit about your return to Portugal, because now you're in Portugal. We're here in this self-renovated home, beautiful with a beautiful wood, and you'll be able to see the pictures on the socials. But tell me the decision to come back to Portugal, or for you, Carlos, to come back and then to bring Helena. How did that work out, and then how does that link up with your current endeavors?
Okay. So we can pick it up from where we stopped with Anna being born in Munich, and us realizing that we don't want to have a life like we had before, even though everything was great, you know. So we were living in the city center, bought an apartment there, daycare was taken care of. We had like really successful jobs, well-paid jobs. So everything, like, you know, from exterior, everything was great. But from interior, so in the way how we started feeling, we just didn't want that. We wanted more quality of life. We wanted to spend more time with our daughter, because for us, giving birth to Anna was not just something like to tick the box. It was very important. I would say she's our biggest project in this life. And of course, if this is your biggest project in life, because basically giving birth to a child is like giving birth to a new universe. You give to complete universe, and then you just have to observe and to see, you know, to see this identity being formed. Try not to break anything there, you know, trying to keep this as a whole, you know, like not I don't know, not pressuring, not doctoring, not giving her advice about life, because children, all of this they don't need. They just need your love, care, and support. And support in the way that, like, no matter what happens, I'm always on your side. Yeah. And of course, you can only do this when you have enough time to spend with your child. So we decided that we have to change something. And, you know, once the decision is taken, then the new opportunities pop up. The doors start opening. Of course, some doors start closing as well. And that was the case, that an opportunity popped up for Carlos at that moment. There was a huge restructuring in the company, and there was I think it was a merger, right?
Yes, so at that time I was working at Sky Germany, and so media field. And the company was bought by an American company, Comcast, and they were laying off many people or trying to get some agreement with some people to leave. And I applied for this chance. And before applying, actually the decision was taken like this, because okay, we're, like Lena said, we're already not happy. We want to get more quality time, because our jobs were really consuming a lot of time, and we were quite tired actually. And then when the opportunity came, I was in the office, and I called Lena, and I really want to move to Portugal. So I think it's something that all the Portuguese have, that live abroad.
Return.
They want to return. Most of them only do it when they retire or something. And we actually were not planning to do it immediately. We're thinking, okay, eventually this could be an option. And there was the opportunity came, and I made a quick call with Lena. I tried to hide my excitement and say, okay, there is this opportunity. What do you think? Should we take it? Should not? Maybe it's too early. We don't know. Let's see. And Lena said, no, let's do it. And then I say, okay, then great. Let's do 30 seconds talk. And then we decided, okay, let's do it. I took then this agreement with the company at that time. And that's it. That was it. And then we start preparing to move. Yeah, prepare. The move itself was I think it was smooth. It was kind of easy, because many years ago, when I started working in Germany, you know, all Portuguese have this feeling of home. So I bought an apartment actually not far from where we are now. So we had a place to live, basically. So we came, the house was there, just need some freshen up. And we start thinking about what should we do here, yeah, and then trying to find a new business, because I think after working so many years abroad, for me it would be very difficult to work again for some Portuguese company or local company, changing the mindset again, and
Challenging.
yeah, to be very challenging. So that's why we tried to find some business that we could do. And that explains the camper vans outside.
Camper vans and the beautiful. What do you call that?
It's a geodesic dome.
Say that again, sorry.
Geodesic dome.
Geodesic dome.
Yeah, it's like this half round structure. And well, actually,
That's
when
core to the business, right? That's core to the actual business that you guys are started that.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that was like actually it was a transition because as Carlos said, he started with a rental business of camper vans. Yeah.
And it was there.
So that was his because he's like a huge fan, and of course when you go through this huge transition in life, then you are thinking like, okay, I'm trying to do something about my hobby or like about my passion. Exactly. Right.
So the
Exactly.
jump here was like working 8 hours a day, sitting on my desk or having business meetings, to when we started this project was buying these old VW Volkswagen buses in Germany, trying to do some basic repairs by myself. Yeah, it was also very difficult, not having proper space, sometimes under the under the bridge. And making the trip here to bring them here, and then here make the proper renovation with some with some
So you would buy the VW, the Volkswagen. We call them combis. Combis. Yeah, the combis. But you got a Malibu there as well, I see.
Yes.
So you bring those. You would buy those in Germany.
Yes.
Bring them over, fix them up, and then rent them out.
And rent it.
Like so, you could rent them as a camper van, and people would drive down the coast. Do you don't do that anymore?
We don't do that anymore. Actually, at a certain point we start facing some issues because they're old cars, mechanical problems, difficult to find. But actually, this business of the camper vans lead us to this place here.
It was a stepping stone.
It was a stepping stone. So, and actually, it was very gratifying because when we started this business, I would pick people from the airport, and I could see people were coming stressed, and then you hand over everything, enjoy the trip, and then 1 week later, there were different people coming back. All suntanned, all relaxed. We even had some people that came. They were nearby. They came to visit us. Like
A year later.
A year later, they passed by and like, we remember you, a call, and then they just passed. So it was a very gratifying job. And how did it lead us to this place? So we were looking for because this started as a business, as a smaller business, and we wanted to buy a big warehouse where we could start storing the buses, And I was looking for a warehouse, and at that time, the cost of the warehouse was too high, so we could not afford. We were trying to find something too expensive or too far away, and then I had a friend of mine, a very good friend from my childhood, that he said, I don't know any garage for sale, but I know a piece of land is quite big, so you can then make a garage there. And that's how we found this place.
So that's how you got the plot of land and the house.
Exactly. Then we came to see this land, and we said, no, this is something different. This has so much potential that we have to do something different. And that it was at the point of we had this camper van business. We were already a bit struggling because the COVID came, and we started to have a lot of mechanical problems that affected the future rentals. So when you rent these things and the van breaks down, it doesn't destroy or damage just this rental, because the rental that comes after, if it's something cannot fix fast, it starts to have this.
Give that bus to the current renters and the
Exactly.
future renters. The problem with those rentals is that you need to rent a really reliable vehicle, because you've got people who know nothing about
Exactly.
So those that you have are very much like for enthusiasts who have an understanding of the internal combustion engine of the VW.
You need to be able to make quick fixes on the way.
So you need to rent a reliable, and that's why you see this is very popular in Portugal now. You have a lot of rental companies.
Yes.
Rent buses but they're all new.
Yes.
Right?
And the thing here is that I think we start struggling with this Portuguese mentality. After we was with the construction, but also for the mechanic, for example. I could not find a reliable mechanic. He would do the fix, everything seemed to be fine, but then the fix was not done properly, and it was just a patch, or it was just so. I struggled a lot with this type of things.
This is his German speaking.
You come from German where they make them.
Yes, exactly. So, but it's very simple. The mechanic is very simple. Fine. Actually, when we bought this land, I think we could also have solved this problem, because the neighbor here is a retired mechanic, and he loves this type of things. So this could be, but then it was just the frustration was that people were coming for vacation, and I would feel responsible if something happens. This was not just a business, because we really live this thing. So we really want people to have a good experience. So it was not just, the van breaks down, we get you a separate one, or we book you a hotel, and that's it. The insurance would cover that anyway. So we book you a hotel, and that's it. It's okay, sorry. But we wanted people to really have a good experience. So that's why we then decide, no, that's...
So that's sort of led you to the path of the retreat.
Yes.
Right. And this is, we had a walk through here, and I've had a look at the property. And then there's photos on your social media, right?
Yeah, there are. Yeah. So actually, I document the process. Of course, not as I would wish to, because I was always wondering, like how people have time to do something. And like, something big, like, it's a huge
And record the
construction, and
process of
record the
doing it.
process, blog about this, post it on social media. I really admire, like, really those people, because I would like to meet one of those just to understand how it's working, because for us, like, this project, as we are fully involved, like, we're doing really a lot of stuff on our own. So basically, this project is also about, like, living our hobbies. So everything that we would want to try in our life, we are trying here, because this is our space. This is a safe environment for us to try. And Carlos here, so he even said, like, once, that he wanted actually to go and study architecture, and now this is his chance. He's of course not an architect, but he's like doing really a lot of, like, planning and, like, infrastructuring, supervision, even like constructing with his bare hands, like,
Keeps a man out of trouble.
yes. And I discovered my passion for interior design, and this is what I'm doing, because all the houses that we are recovering are fully furnished, and I spend really a lot of time. So they are all designed they have different design styles, and I spend a lot of time finding the proper material styles, designing the kitchens, like, of course, finding everything, like, else to fit it together. And people are actually very happy. So feedback is always really great. People say that they always feel at home, and this is exactly what we were trying to create. We are not trying to create just a property or real estate. We are trying to create an environment, or this feeling in people that they are at home.
You spoke about community outside when we just met.
Right.
Mentioned community.
Yeah. So basically, the project is, we have our residence here. It's all on the same property, and we have 7 smaller houses that we are recovering right now. And the vision for this project is, first, to set up a community, because I really feel that, like, in the world we are living now, community is the way to go. Because, like, in a few years from now, or maybe even now, like, people who are observative enough, they see that, like, all these like, even like big corporations, or even like country borders, they are starting to dissolve slowly. And I feel that this is the way where it's going, because if you see at all the issues we have now across the globe, like, even like with immigration and so on. So it's kind of like the trend is that to dissolve the country borders, to dissolve this, like, strong, identity, like cultural identity. And it's not good or bad, because on one side, energetic or spiritually speaking, we're going towards this unity, and of course, like, so that we feel that we're all one and so on. And in that sense, this is a good trend. On the other side, of course, people start losing the foundation, so they don't know anymore who they are, what can they rely on, and this is like,
Well, that's where you often have these sects or these groups, these bad groups that then give people a false sense of purpose, and they join these gangs or militias or whatever the case may be. When people are lost and a bit confused. Tell me, what do you plan to offer at the retreat? So can you tell me about the potential name you mentioned it?
It's Vila das Eiras.
Eiras, yes.
Yeah, so maybe Carlos can talk a bit about the name, but basically what we are trying to do here is that we want to keep the legacy of the place. And the legacy is also a community-based living, because there were houses where there were, like, we still have an old lady living on our ground, and she was telling stories that there were times when there were like 40 people living at these 7 houses, like, with a lot of children and so on. So this place has already this community vibe and community feeling, and this is what we want to keep as well. But on the other side, we with the geodesic dome, which has like a great acoustics and everything, we want to offer, since I'm also like in in spirituality, deep in spirituality. We want to offer like sound healing sessions, maybe yoga sessions, tai chi, qigong, meditative retreats. The only thing is like that the place is not like large, designed for a large scale retreats. It will be always exclusive. It will be always I think for 10, 15 people. But then these people have an opportunity to dive in really deep. And of course, there will be also different type of events. Like it can be like a one-day retreat, where people are not supposed even to stay necessarily on our grounds, but they will come like just for the events or for some specific sessions. Because one of my missions in life is not only to like to become a master on my own, but like to give safe space to people also to show their mastery. Like there are like really a lot of amazing people now in Porto doing sound healing, doing yoga, doing meditations, all this type of things. And I would like to give them this platform and space where they can also thrive.
When we sat down at this beautiful table about an hour ago before we started the pod, you spoke about the initial stages of owning this house, where you had a whole bunch of people in here. And tell me a little bit about that. That was when the war started over in Ukraine. And do you want to just tell me a little bit about that process? And because obviously that would have had a big, maybe not at the time, but that would have influenced where you guys are now in terms of your thinking, because you provided that initial support. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So when we finished recovering our residence, our house, we were about to move in, and this is exactly the period when the full-scale war in Ukraine started. So I'm Ukrainian. My family was like part of the family was still in Ukraine, and like in the first days. So first of all, I was really shocked. I thought that it would never happen. Because it was something for me that you cannot solve after, you cannot fix afterwards, like that's is really difficult. So I was sure it would never happen, but it happened. Yeah. And the first days, you feel like you feel helpless, so because like I also have a very deep connection to Ukrainian land. And being a highly sensitive person is good, but of course at the times like this is very difficult to process, because it's going all through my body, like so I physically can feel this pain through my body, and of course it's very difficult. And then you start looking for opportunities. How can you help? How can you do at least something, because first of all you have to keep yourself busy. And of course, there were at the same time like so many people who needed help, who already were leaving the country, who maybe for the first time of their life, who were never before abroad, not having any language skills, not having anything there, like no contacts, no nothing. So and one part, so apart from like being a translator for whatever organizations, like donating, helping where we could, we also offered our home. So we moved in, and 2 days later, like basically 10 people were living in our house. And the house was even not fully furnished. And basically we were like, okay, so at least we need like a big table where we can eat all together. And this is how Carlos
Yes.
made the table that we still have here, and we're sitting at this table right now.
I think at that time was something just temporary. Let's just find something, and in the end we decided just to he just stayed. He just stayed, and we like it.
Beautiful table, great for podcasting.
Very good. So multi-purpose, multi-purpose. Yeah. So, and of course, so first of all, yes, you feel that you do something, you contribute. That even though being far away, you do whatever you can for people in need. Second of all, I found, so we were exposed, of course, with all types of stories. And one of the stories was, for instance, that the person was building a house, his own house there close to Kharkiv for 10 years, because he was doing this more or less on his own. And then he was forced to leave, and the house was destroyed. and how people even process all these emotions, how people let go or not let go. So in his case, he could let it go. And for me, it was amazing. Like for me, I was like completely mind blown by the way how he can process this type of losses, Um, and there were like a lot of stories. Everybody would come and sit at this very same table and tell us stories. And our daughter would be also there. And in this case, I didn't want to protect her. Like of course we were not discussing like some atrocities, that were happening in her presence. But like I didn't want to protect her from life, because this is also a part of life. And I thought that it was important that she was also exposed to this, because of course, like living here, she's kind of in a safe bubble, and there are many things that, of course, she might know, like conceptually, that they're out there, but like having people here with their stories, with all their feelings, it was yeah, it was important for her also to see this part of life. Uh, they were with us like for 1 month, and then of course, then life continues and they would find their way. But yeah, that was very intense period of time that was really strong on everybody. But I think we did what we could. uh, n- I don't regret this at all, of course. This is a part of our life that will stay with us and also stay with this house, because this is how it all started. Yeah.
So the house has a bit of that history in it, because
Right.
structures and houses, they have feeling, and they have a vibe about them, don't they?
Yeah.
They have like they remember things.
Yeah.
And obviously you sort of baptized the new structure now you have now, with that sort of empathy, support, and that unwavering, just ability to provide people with help in their hour of need. Because I don't think anyone listening to this podcast, bar obviously people who've experienced something similar, who might be Ukrainian from another war-torn country, I don't think they realize how being pulled from your house and losing everything, like this gentleman building his house for 10 years and they're losing it.
Yeah.
I mean, we build a puzzle for 5 minutes and then someone destroys it, and he could get upset.
Yeah.
Yes. So, that's time and money that he'll never get back. And we don't see an end in this as well. So that's obviously played a big role in your wanting to go this retreat, right? And that's the trauma counseling behind that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So first of all, everything we're doing in terms of spaces, it always has, I mentioned this already, it has the same idea behind that people feel at home, people feel safe, people feel comfortable. And this is like everybody who would be here, they would be telling the same story, that they feel at home, they don't want to leave. Sometimes it can become a problem. People don't want to leave. But it gives like a really completely different perception and level of just being at this place would give them a certain amount of healing already. But on top of this, so I'm coming from financial background, but I'm on a spiritual way already for a decade probably. And I was still, when we moved to Portugal, I was still actually working for a certain time, and then I decided to quit my corporate job. And like having already a lot of background and also being fully certified on like European level, I started my practice, which is it's like a quantum healing, quantum psychology.
Tell us about the quantum, because I know about quantum computing.
Yes.
Because just
And
on like a max level. Is that it?
So basically, okay, so quantum healing for some people might sound like a woo-woo magic, which is not. Because the idea of quantum healing and quantum psychology or quantum therapy is uh, to close the gap, between science and spirituality.
Okay.
Because the way how it works, so if you can imagine, and I will explain this, of course, if a physicist would listen to our podcast, probably he would roll his eyes But I'm just trained to explain this to my clients, for instance, to people who wouldn't understand much about quantum mechanics or physics, the way, the idea behind. And the idea behind is like that there is a quantum field, and you can imagine it as a global computer where you have all type of information stored, and basically about everybody, about this universe, about our like the laws of universe. And as I said, the quantum physicists probably would roll their eyes at this, but I'm trying always to explain it in very basic terms. And you can imagine that there is a quantum field. So this is a field that unites everything. This is like a global computer, let's put it this way, where all type of information is stored about this universe, about us, about every single person in this world. And basically you can connect to this field and get access to any type of information. And this is where the quantum healing becomes important because, for instance, a client comes and a client has any type of issue. It can be anything. It can be finances, it can be relationships, it can be professional expression, any type of of issues. And then me being able to access this global computer, this quantum field, I can just receive a type of information like that explains like what kind of blocks or what kind of let's say programming, because we are really, like, if you think about it, we're just like a very intelligent, our bodies are very intelligent avatars, and of course we are also running on programs. That's already more or less a fact, because any type of automatic expressions that you would have that you would not even realize because they kick in 2 seconds, then the program starts running you. You're not in control of this program, and the idea is that you really have to make a person aware, so that basically we are working with this observer effect, when person basically can step aside and look at the full situation as a third party, and see that like a lot of behaviors, we're not talking now about deep traumas because this is a slightly different topic, but you can also work through quantum field with deep trauma. But like even like on a level of programming, you would just like catch the program basically, and once you see, you observe, you become the observer, you are becoming in control. So you are not, is no longer a program controlling you, is you controlling your behaviors, and of course there is a whole like like the neuroscience, neuroplasticity and all type of things. Now there is a lot, already a lot of research that would back it up from a scientific perspective, but the way how it works in the session is like really, I could just access this type of information and we would work with the person on different levels as well. Because, for instance, if psychology works mostly with your subconscious, then the quantum healing can work with your with the level of your everyday life. It can work with your generational memory. It can work with your soul memory if you believe in soul and this type of things. It can work with the archetypes. It can work through your higher self if you believe in these type of things. So it works on like really all different type of levels of your system, because we are a system. It's a whole system. It's not just, we're not just a bunch of parts that are, like they stick together. And quantum healing works on these levels, and it works very fast because, like, if you if we go back to this metaphor of a computer, so basically, like you can reprogram something very fast, right? So on energetic level, you can really reprogram things very fast. Of course, it takes time when it comes to matter, because matter is very high density energy. And for things to change in your everyday life, so in matter, right, that would take time. And also your attention as well, because like if you, let's say, reprogram and develop or program a new behavior patterns, yeah, then it takes time for them to become like, again, your automatic reactions to everything that you observed.
So a simple way to put it was that if there was trauma in your life, so generational trauma, because you mentioned that, so trauma that was related to something that had happened either to your grandparents or your parents. You think about the Native Americans or the the generational trauma that they've experienced, right?
Yeah.
You know, with the issues in North America. So you have this trauma that goes back, say, 2-3 generations. That's still written into your genetic code, right?
Exactly.
And quantum
Healing.
has the ability to go in and rewrite that code.
Exactly. So, of course, sometimes it's not that simple. Sometimes there are things that you can really just rewrite. Sometimes you have to go back to this event and
That's where you get hypnosis.
Exactly. For instance, it can work also like a hypnosis as well. So you go back to that event and you see this from a completely different perspective, because everything in our life is perspective. You know, something can happen and you can see it from this perspective or from completely different perspective. And based on this, you will of course have a different behavior that is written in your genetic code, for instance, right? So basically, when you go back, sometimes it's really required. You go back to that event and you see it from different perspective. You rewrite the code in this way. And of course, then again, this pattern is no longer controlling you. You control the pattern.
Okay, so you're handed back the power.
Yep. Yeah.
Tell me, Helena,
And free the energy as well from there.
and the energy. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me, Helena, there's been a big spike in plant medicine over the last few years, and particularly with the treatment of opioid addiction.
Yep.
Using ibogaine, and there's some certain species of mushrooms like psilocybin that's been used for trauma treatment, drug addiction, and it's showing significant positive results. I know there are a few sessions, the treatment centers down in the Algarve and the Alentejo. Tell me, is that something that you'll be exploring, or use of natural psychedelics?
I never used natural psychedelics. Specifically for me, I know that this is not something I would explore. Not because I'm against this, no, not at all. Just because, first of all, having this high sensibility, I know that this is not my way. That's the only reason. Plus, many people use, like for instance, they go to Peru, to this ayahuasca, to shamans and so on. Exactly. And this actually, why are they doing this? Because they want to connect to this higher consciousness and to experience something, like, to experience this connection, basically, and of course, there would be also a lot of, for instance, trauma healing involved and so on. But the shadow side of all this is that you really have to know, you really have to trust the shaman, to trust the person who is, performing the rituals, because, well, there are also a lot of cases where people would go back to their normal life, but they would have a complete shift of personality, but not in a good way. And of course, again, it's connected with the different levels, the energetic levels that, of course, we don't sense. Or if you don't develop this high sensitivity, you don't know what is happening. But there might be just some kind of plug-ins from specific energetic structures.
Where shaman have taken advantage of people in difficult positions.
Exactly.
Or there are cases. You're right. I think that's the big thing.
Yeah. So basically, I think plant medicine, it works for sure. If you're doing this with a trusted person, with the person who knows what he or she is doing, and the main idea is that people really want to connect to some higher levels of themselves, like this higher self or higher consciousnness.
There's an unlocking of a true potential.
Exactly, unlocking of the true potential, and this can be done also without plant medicine.
Yes.
And for instance, this is my way, because personally, I would not need a plant medicine to connect to this higher consciousness, because I can do this on a regular basis on my own. But again, I think many people, especially, there are many people who are really, I used to be one of those, really control freaks, so that you really want to control your life. And this is type of people who would really be dominated by mind, by brain activity, right? And to really release this grip, you might want to go and explore the plant medicine, because it would really show you completely different world, if it's done properly with a trusted person and so on, and all the precautions are met, that people just explore and maybe feel for the first time this connection with something higher than you, higher than you, it doesn't mean that this is something disconnected from you, because this is just your higher expression, your higher consciousness, and that could be interesting also for different, like, treating of different type of maybe even addictions and so on. Yeah, it's yeah, exactly. So this is really the only thing is, like, people really have to understand what they're doing, not just blindly going somewhere and trusting somebody that they met on the internet or whatever.
So
like
due diligence out there. I think people
Yeah.
mention their due
Yeah.
diligence with anything, right?
Yeah.
It's just
And also being aware of well, this is, of course, is always their own responsibility. Yeah, because of course you can say that the okay, person was not aware of and something happened, like, really, like, you go to heal your trauma, and in the end you actually come back with even more serious issues and so on. So there are always two parties involved there, and people always have to take responsibility, right? But sometimes it's really like they're just trusting and not aware of what is happening, So, and in that sense, the only thing that helps is really to increase your sensitivity to explore and develop or unpack, I would say, because they are always inside us. Your these abilities, to sense specific things that are not matter, that are not material. Because, like, after being like 10 years in this topic, I can say that, like, sensing like this, the energy or the energetic patterns and structures that are present everywhere is, for me, is as material as anything that we see around us. Uh, uh, and it really exists, And I really truly believe that the way forward is to close this gap between science and spirituality. And we know, like, that all this kind of heritage from the prior civilizations and so on, like, all is there, everything is there. And what they were talking about, like, thousands of years ago, now we have an opportunity with modern science to explain these things scientifically, to conduct experiments, to like, for instance, with quantum physics, like, this is amazing. And those experiments, they are even not like the first experiments, they're not like super new. It's like they've been done like 20 years ago, but they've never made it to public. Well, it was publicly available. I'm just mean that collective consciousness was not ready for that, because how would you explain people how it works without, like, let's say, if nobody was even using a computer yet, like in your everyday life,
you didn't draw the analogy because of the
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't draw it, the analogy there, and explain what is programming and everything. But it's like literally how it works. It's not even metaphorically what is happening. And for instance, that like a particle can behave like a wave or a particle, right? So it just proves that, like, wave is energy and particle is matter, And how is being influenced is by observer. So basically, like, all these double slit experiments in quantum physics and so on, they just confirm that, like, when there is an observer who expects certain outcome, the observer forms this reality.
This was a confirmation bias.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that manifested, they've sent out their vibes, they've sent out the energy, and they're getting what they want.
Yeah. Yeah, more or less. But, like, it just shows that consciousness forms the reality. It's not the other way around. It's like we're not the victims of something that is happening to us. It's just like what we are living now individually, but also collectively. It's just a product of our, like, belief system that we formed, like, some time ago. And this is something that you can also change over time. This is not something static. You just have to be open and flexible enough, just to go down this road and
change your circumstance as well. That's
exactly.
inspiring. Tell me, just to wrap it up, tell me, when do you envisage this retreat opening its doors? When do you believe clients can start checking you out on social medias, clicking on your website? When are you welcoming them over here?
I believe it should be probably next year. So as a community, this place already works, because we have 3 houses that are rented already, and people are living here for a longer term, like 1 year at least. In terms of, like, all the events and, like, really retreat activities, I believe, like, when we are finished with the heavy infrastructure, uh, and this should be next year because there are many reasons why it should be done next year, then we will really open the doors and start conducting some events here and also retreats for smaller groups, like more exclusive and more customer oriented, like
And just who would your primary client be? Anyone for
that would be
businesses or
uh,
sessions?
so that it can work on different levels because, for instance, to this quantum therapy, quantum psychology, it works also for business related issues. So like I also have business owners coming to solve their problems. It's of course like it requires more energy because you work not only with one person, but you work with a structure, with a business, right? So this type of things can be also done, but primarily I think like everybody who is interested in spirituality, trying to evolve in terms of their um, consciousness, trying to to develop or to unpack this sensitivity and their abilities. People who are interested in community building, for instance, those are all our customers. People who like meditation, sound healing, yoga, like mindfulness. So
Brilliant.
this is our customer.
Thank you so much, Helena, Carlos. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you for having me in your house, and we'll share all your details on the pod and on social media. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to chat. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
And we'll hope to see you open in 2026.
Right.
Exactly.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks.